little bit similar.
Do one quick announcement here that that the meeting will be recorded and audio and video. So if you can watch it later on. If you're listening to me tell you this, you're probably watching it now. So, but just so you know, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. The June 28th.
Yes.
We have the June 20th. I don't even know what the date. June 28th is Wednesday. That 2023 meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. As we stand right now, we don't have a quorum, so we won't be able to vote on anything, although I don't think anything in here is pressing for a vote anyway. But we'll go through the what we have on the agenda as best we can, knowing that we'll probably have to circle back around in July and August. So review and act on acceptance of the minutes. We can't vote on that, but has anyone got a chance to read the minutes?
Yes,
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that's good.
here's mine.
Okay, and review and approval of bills and expenses.
No bills this month, so we can't vote.
All right, can't vote anyway.
Right.
All right. Only bill we have is bill. So public participation. Do we have anybody that signed up for that? Nope.
This is going to be quick.
Moving right along. Commissioners' reports. I'm going to start with Mr. Pica. What do we
Thank
got?
you, Mr. Chairman. Anyways, a couple concerns. We may not have any data on this, but some people expressed concerns in terms of is something like fecal coliform coming down out of the Whitler Drive area, the stream, because it needs to be known that we have a lot of challenges in terms of weeds. It seems in particular it's enhanced this year. We're talking about Half Moon Cove is choked at the time being. I know there's been an initiative, and I'll let Barbara Kickham talk about that in terms of water chestnut. We have an issue of it being invasive in the north end of the lake and the south end of the lake. So I just need to say that we're going to really need help in any way we can get it, via initiatives of people like Jacqueline Bergmeister, state reps like Michael Moore or Jim O'Day, or however we're going to need it's in the future some treatment and or harvesting, because if the people want to enjoy the lake, it's going to eutrophy rapidly relative to rapid weed growth. People are cruising into Half Moon Cove, and as they're cruising out on their transoms of their boat, their motors, they're dragging the weeds out into the lake, and they're just going to reseed South Bay and throughout the whole lake. And this is a significant and serious issue. I just mean to articulate. Besides that, Mr. Chair, tomorrow night the City of Worcester is having its fireworks. Relative to the weather right now, it looks like they'll have them. It's been particularly cloudy and rainy. We all know that. And again, I just appealed for everybody to behave themselves in terms of boating courtesy. Don't rush into an area where there's anchored boats. Similarly, upon the ending of the fireworks, people hopefully will not rush out of that area. There tends to be a lot of boats that will be sitting between the Route 9 area south. So again, let's just hope everybody can keep it safe. Other than that, at the moment, Mr. Chair, that's all I have to say. The boating activity is ticking up, to be understood, in June and July, and I'm sure it'll be very busy the next couple of months. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pica. I'll circle back around about Half Moon. And the Whitler thing is news to me, so we'll talk about that. Just BPD, who's going to?
Good evening. So Officers Valier and Amato have placed all the navigational buoys on the main portion of the lake. What else did you've got some others some new ones?
We've got together all the new buoys I purchased. The money gave us, that you approved, Bill, a while back, we voted on, gave us 6 new buoys and we got 9 or 10 new lights. So still in the process of putting the lights on the new ones. I have not put any new buoys in the Narrows yet. I'm waiting on that. I put a brand new one down at Lake Park, brand new swim buoy. The next day, it was gone. They sunk it. So I put another one out there, hoping that doesn't happen again. But everything is marked except for the Narrows. I know you want to do one north and south. I have not put those out yet. I'm waiting till we get lights on everything.
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
An observation, when I was out Monday and again this morning, I noticed that the buoy at the north east corner of the Burns Bridge, Monday it was, instead of the normal 3.5 feet, it was only a foot of it was out of the water. And this morning it was a little less than a foot out of the water. So it looks like it's slowly going down.
All right, I'll check it.
It'll disappear
I'll
pretty
check
soon.
it tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you.
Sean, the new buoys, are they they're
Yeah,
all,
the same ones that the torpedo looking.
yeah, they're all like one, there's no
Yeah.
like thing on the bottom, right?
They do sell those, but they're, I think, double the cost.
Is it?
Yep.
The reason I'm asking that question, that it, it's only double the cost, I guess, the first time you buy it.
Yes.
But it seems to me, because that's the ones we had at Flint Pond, and one of those sunk. So actually, but they both did, and the same thing happened. They just kind of sink down like that. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
they're further and further. It's like quicksand, and then they're gone. And I don't know if maybe they're more susceptible to that, or maybe, I don't know. You should probably keep an eye on it, because if all the buoys we have out there now,
That's the only kind that we have.
okay. So
The,
just keep
the
an eye
old ones with the base were the best,
Yeah,
and we never had an issue.
yeah.
Now we're losing a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the old ones, if
Different
something
depths
happened to them,
and-
they cracked at the top or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of people hitting them with the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
props and
Okay.
doing damage to them. So,
Yeah.
do our best.
Flint Pond, I think, was sabotage.
Yeah, I believe so. And we lost a couple up at the North Quinsig ramp last year as well.
At Corzini? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for getting that done.
Sure.
Um,
Sorry, Lieutenant.
There's any other issue with the Narrows, besides just want to put the lights on the things? And
I want to make sure we get lights on there first.
Okay.
We want to do north and south, or do you want to do east and west? You want to put two?
I was thinking north and south, because that way we could put two. If we do east and west, oh, you mean like east and west right in the Narrow?
Yeah,
Yeah,
to really, so they have to slow down.
right. Whatever you think is,
but I'm-
whatever you think is
I'm-
going to control it
I'm
better.
afraid that people are going to damage them if we do that, though.
Yeah. Well, if they do it, it's one thing if they hit it, I don't know.
And you really can't. You have to try hard to damage them. So
Yeah.
They'll just move
you
out
have
of
to
the way.
like purposely hit them, or not purposely hit them, but you have to, if you hit those things,
Mhm.
either driving too fast at night, especially with a light on it, you're driving too fast at night, or you're not paying attention, or something else is going on. You're not,
Yep.
I don't know, but the whole idea is to slow everybody down there. You got to give them some warning, though, that they got to, it's not going to do you much good if they're just slowing down right when they're in the Narrow, right?
Yes.
So
So after we
whatever you guys
so
think is the best control.
once those two are in, we'll still have about 5 spares.
Okay.
So if there's any issues, we can replace.
All right. Thanks so much for getting that.
Another further comment on the buoys.
Yep.
Okay. I've been hearing from the Quinsigamond Boat Club, the fact that this year that the distance between the buoy in the middle and the Shrewsbury side is a little wider, it's making it much easier to navigate both docks going in and out, and there's been no complaints from any of the coxswains like last year.
I planned
So
it
they're
that
very
way.
happy about that.
Yep. I planned it that way. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Sean.
Okay. Did you really plan it that way, or did we just say?
I'm just giving Bill a hard time.
I know.
Oh, we have a quorum.
I read it right.
Sorry for the delay.
Oh, no kidding.
good.
Great. Thank you for coming.
Great.
All right,
Quite the
now we can
storm.
get some business done. All right, we'll start all over again. I'm only kidding. I am going to circle back around to if everyone got it. I'll let you settle in, Amanda. We're just going through the commissioners' reports now, so. But we can circle back around to approve the bills and expense.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of the last
Thank you,
Lake
Mike.
Quinsigamond Commission meeting.
I'll give a second to that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so voted. All right. That's done. And more on the commission report, Bill?
Oh, okay, I guess three things. The, probably been less than normal rowing at the rowing clubs because of our wonderful weather every morning. I must admit, though, I sort of had like it going out in my single after the eights come in, that I've got the lake basically all to myself because no one else likes to row or I guess use their powerboat in the rain. And so it's sort of been nice out there with just the geese and the fishermen. Also, second thing, I participated with the great job that was done at pulling up the water chestnuts. Of course, it was delayed from Saturday due to the fact that there were thunderstorms that morning, and so they had to delay it to Monday, so there were less than probably the full complement of people, but I was surprised at the amount of aquatic material that was pulled up. And I certainly got my first-hand experience with living with a boat full of wet, grimy, slimy water chestnuts a couple times over. But it looks like they did a great job. They certainly, I was working at the north end of the lake, and what I saw, all the loose ones that had got into the lake that were sort of randomly scattered, and everyone I knew of that I pulled up or someone else in the same boat, they hadn't really attached to the bottom like, once you go under Main Street and up into the tributary, where if you go to pull them, they've been growing there for years, they got a huge root structure, and you only get the top 2 or 3 feet. So it does look like if you keep cleaning them out within a year of when they get transplanted into the bulk of the lake, you're eliminating the whole plant and not giving it a head start the following year because you're getting the root structure as well. A thank you to the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association for sponsoring that. Second, I've had a question from, I guess this is the third thing, from the rowers that I've been unable to answer, and maybe Lauren Forster can help me with this. A minute's worth of background here. All of the rowing organizations in the lake, including the QRA, have sort of followed from long before I was here a rule that goes consistent with Massachusetts and federal laws that on a narrow channel or a river you row close to the starboard side. And so the normal procedure, except when there's a regatta that blocks part of the lake and they have to reverse the schedule, is that you row always with a shore on your starboard side, which means down the Worcester side south and north on the Shrewsbury side. And that's been standard practice for a long time. Apparently, fishermen have a slightly different rule, which is you're polite. Whoever's fishing in a spot, no one else goes near that spot. And so the question came up when a fisherman anchors directly under the bridge on one of the 2 channels, since you're required to go, at least the crews are required to go through the right hand, under the right-hand side of the bridge going down the Worcester side and up the Shrewsbury side, because you're reversed again, the right-hand side. What do you do when a fisherman is anchored under the bridge and starts yelling at you and saying, "Hey, I'm fishing here, go on the other side, go around through the other side"? I looked that up and I found, basically 3 things. The Lake Quinsigamond rules do not mention this, 1. 2, the navigation rules of Massachusetts and federal say, if I can quote them here, you cannot anchor or operate a vessel in a channel in such a way as it obstructs navigation. Of course, that's not a channel, it's just under the bridge. But third thing is that, and this is something more recent from Homeland Security laws, it's illegal to anchor or stop below a bridge. And then finally, that unlawful operation of a vessel is any failure to follow navigation rules. So I wasn't able to answer the rowers as to what to do when a fisherman is anchored in the middle of the channel directly under the bridge and wants everyone to go through the other side of the bridge with people coming from the opposite direction.
Well, it is illegal to anchor underneath the bridge. You could politely ask them to move, And then the third thing, I would call Worcester Police Department. Let them handle it. They'll put their boat on the water and take care of it. And then you could call us,
That's it.
fourth. Right?
Being a fisherman myself, I would just tell them that they're catching them up at the other end of the lake. They'll leave.
I just saw a bunch of fish
Yeah,
jumping down
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
They're really hitting up at the other end.
I heard there
I
were
wouldn't get into
stripers up
any
there.
altercations.
No.
Just call.
Tuna.
I must say, in my 15 years of rowing here, only twice have I ever had a fisherman say anything, and it was a plight, "You're disturbing where I'm fishing, can't you row at the other end of the lake?" Similar to, the fisher at the other end.
Yeah. I think that if they're not, if they're anchored and they're not in a channel, which they shouldn't be,
Yeah.
and they know better than that, and they're not under the bridge, which they shouldn't be, and I'm pretty sure they know better than that, then, you kind of go around them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think what they're most concerned about, from my experience, because I've spoken to a couple of times, is the lines. Where are you gonna get the lines caught up in the thing? And, they got their stuff on the bottom of the line, and I don't know how many lines they had out, but that's something you gotta, that they're probably concerned about. But if they're underneath the bridge, they shouldn't be, if they're anchored underneath that bridge, they shouldn't be there.
Bill, is it happening a lot, or is it just one instance?
One instance.
I wouldn't worry about it too much. If it
Yeah.
becomes an issue, we can handle it, or come down there if somebody calls us, but, it's just the one instance. No, they aren't supposed to be under there. They shouldn't be anchoring, but,
Through
don't
you,
get-
Mr.
just
Chairman.
tell everybody, don't get into an
Shouldn't have to beat
altercation.
Yeah,
this to death.
that's
Um,
the general approach taken.
You made the point that they should be knowing better, but I'm wondering, as people, are going through life stages, whether some of the fishermen out there actually do know any better, whether they do really know the license procedures, whether they really do know what they're allowed to do and
My only comment with that is that if you're doing something wrong, they will point that out. So I'm pretty sure that
who's doing what's wrong.
if they're a fisherman and you get too close to them,
Yeah,
like when you're water skiing or driving a boat by them, so if you get within 150 feet, they will point that out. So
so they know that.
I am confident that they know better than to fish in the channel. That's an old standard thing that's been around since, you fish on your side, I fish on my side, no one fishes under the bridge.
Right.
Well, no one fishes in the middle, actually, but,
Where I was going with that was just sort of toward an educational
we
program.
can actually put it on the rules. I mean, it's redundant in terms that it's already legislation, but,
Put a no parking buoy beneath the bridge.
Yeah, we could put a no anchoring buoy under that.
no fishing.
Yes.
No fishing in a boat under the bridge.
And this fisher
Convince
under there.
everybody that's where the fish hang out there.
Right.
No, I was just suggesting maybe an educational, I know this
Yeah.
is costly, but an educational program for people taking advantage of the lake with boats or fishing or
Right. I would
jet
be,
skis.
to tell you the truth, I'm 100% behind that. I think it should be expanded beyond what you're probably thinking. I think that we should have a boat license, and I think that's probably what should be covered, and one of the things that should be covered is the navigational rules. Matter of fact, not one of the things, the main thing that should be covered is navigational rules. You can get all of that, that's all, the environmental police have a website that literally has a course on it that you can take to do all that. So that education stuff is in place, and they can go on there and get that. It's getting them to do it, which is why having a boat license or some kind of certificate would make a lot of sense, because then they'd be required to do that. And I don't, I think it would even make it easier for law enforcement to,
It would be, most states require it,
yeah,
require,
all around us.
Boating
New
license,
Hampshire,
except-
Connecticut,
not Massachusetts.
yeah. So-
Anybody can just buy a boat and put it in the water.
Is there a history to that?
Well, you think about this, right? In 1916 or so, when the cars started coming out and the commission was formed because we had issues with motorboats. It was dangerous out there. So our first mission statement really was to protect the safety of the lake, and that was before Shrewsbury PD and Worcester PD and all, and Grafton wasn't even involved in it at that point. So, but around the same time, automobiles were coming into play, yes? They figured out pretty quick with an automobile, hey, we need some rules. we need to have some education here, we need to have lines in the road, stop signs, intersections, that kind of thing, right? They never did that with the boat, for whatever reason. So lately, they have come in, and like I said, New Hampshire, you have to have a certificate to drive a boat, to drive a motorboat in New Hampshire. Connecticut, you have to have one, and I believe Rhode Island is also on it. But there's states all across the country that are doing it. It doesn't, and I think, like I said, a lot of it's in place. The educational thing's already on there. New Hampshire, you basically take the course online. You can take the course online, or they have in-person courses you can take. You take your test, they send you a certificate. It's simple. Costs $100, I think, to get your certificate. Sorry, it costs less than that. It costs you $100 if you get caught on the water in a motorboat, driving a motorboat without a certificate. The first time.
But for whatever reason, Massachusetts doesn't do it. They're grandfathered, or?
No, it's not grandfather. We just don't have legislation. We brought it up a couple of times. Because I really think the jet ski problem, 85% of that would be mitigated if people knew what the hell they were supposed to do or not do. You're going to have people that just do stuff whether there's a law or not, right? But, I really believe that some people, just by their behavior, don't know any better. Because I've seen people going between a boat and a skier. Like, that's just
She's pretty mindless.
dumb. Yeah, because you got a line, connecting the skier. So, that's just stupidity, or lack of knowledge, I should say. Anyway, but that's I think it is. It's something it's near and dear to my heart. I've approached our state rep, our state senator about it. I just approached Jim McGovern, who's a U.S. He's a U.S. rep, but it's I don't think anyone thinks it's a bad idea. Well, I think some people think it's a bad idea because they don't want to have to do it. And the other thing is that everybody would have to have one. You can't just say, well, I've been boating for 50 years. You may be able to test out or something, but, everyone needs to have a certificate. So no one's grandfather, because that would just be a nightmare for these guys. Figuring out,
Well, I just want what's best for the lake.
Exactly. It's good. It's a good point. Anything else, Bill?
No?
All right.
Amanda.
So I got word from Eric that they are doing more research into, the whole dock issue, and we're trying to, require everybody on the Worcester side to have a Chapter 91 dock permit. I don't know. We've had some debates about that in the past on the board, whether or not that was something that the whole lake wants to do. I think once the dragon is loosed, you kind of have to go with the program, and I don't know, but so that's in there. He said that he mentioned there was an order of conditions that he talked about with you, which I'm not familiar with which one of the orders of conditions that was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I talked to him about
173, 179.
Lake Ave?
Lake Ave.
Lake Ave, yeah.
Yeah. It's a dock. Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
the dock. And so that was something that came up. I
Yeah.
mean, he gave me this information yesterday, so I'm a
Yes.
little bit
Yep.
behind the 8 ball on it, but those are the things that he.
Yeah, we're going to review that. I got a couple I got to get down and do in between the raindrops. But on 173, I don't really see an issue with that, but I'll reach out to Eric and make sure that he has the information he needs to move forward.
Okay, and then, I guess they've had some internal discussion on the old executive orders for the docks there and at 134 Lake Ave. He said he would discuss it with me soon, but we haven't connected yet.
The executive orders.
Enforcement orders.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know what you're talking.
Yeah,
No, I know the property. Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
So that, I mean, I don't have a lot. That's it.
Okay, that's good. Well, I'm just a quick circle back on the Chapter 91 thing. We're going to have to address Chapter 91 and sooner or later. It's coming. And since Worcester's doing it, you're right. It's on Lake Quinsigamond now, like the water chestnut. And there is a program called it's local something. But basically, it'll give us the ability to approve a dock under Chapter 91, local permitting program. So we'll be able to do it. It'll fall back on the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. I've had discussions with DEP about it. Unfortunately, the team changed when the administration changed. So we got to kind of go back, and hopefully, we won't have to start all over again. But it's in there, and you know, it makes sense for the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. We're literally mentioned when they, in the Chapter 91 program, when they say like examples of who doesn't have to do that and who does. So they specifically called out the Lake Quinsigamond Commission because in their view, we are not authorized because we haven't filled out the paperwork for the local permitting program to do it. Even though, and they're not questioning our authority to approve docks and to permit them. They're just saying, in addition to that, it still has to be Chapter 91. It's not a big deal, and we get the money.
The question that comes to me is, does that create an enforcement issue for the police force on the lake? And there's, you know, it requires some bookkeeping.
Well, it's going to be a different bookkeeping, but we're already doing it now because all of our stuff's in place. In fact, I believe we're getting improvement because we're getting a different database
We are
up, right? So Cindy's going
getting
to,
a new system, so
yeah.
it'll be updated. Cindy will update it once when that goes into effect. I'm
Right.
not sure exactly when it is, the new CAD system.
1 year.
1 year, okay. So, I mean, in the meantime, and it's probably going to take us till next season to get this straightened out because that's one of the questions. And okay, how do we morph that in with what we're doing now? And we'll see. But there's been, within the commission itself, because there's a feeling that, why should we do that? Because we have our own thing going on, and we're written in the legislation just like DEP,
I've gotten
but we don't
data.
override that.
The Shrewsbury Police were maintaining that database, and I've gotten data from them, and I've tried to look at that data and make it kind of useful from the perspective of what we talked about wanting to do with it, which is connect street addresses
Yep.
with dock addresses and GPS coordinates. And the way the data's structured right now, it's really kind of difficult to do that without a lot of on-the-water groundwork.
Right. I think that's what's going to happen. So we're going to have to figure that out. But like I said, we'll work all that stuff out and get it done. And 'cause you're right, because if it's a condominium, for example,
Yeah.
it's just one thing. It's a condominium, so
lump
you
it
don't
all
know
into
whose
one
dock it
point.
is. Right.
Right.
That's actually part of my report. All right. Thank you. Does that answer your question for where we?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, you've been involved in the discussions.
right.
Yeah.
And, we've been talking about it for a couple of years
Yeah,
now, but, I just want to try to help advance it.
Thank you. All right. It's up to me. So I'm just going to go into the whole lake management, and that'll be all part of my report. Lake Quinsigamond drawdown. I believe we're going to need to reapply for permits to go through that. I think we've met our last extension, at least in Shrewsbury, is my understanding. So our Shrewsbury Concom member isn't here tonight, but so I'll have to circle around that. I'll have a better update at the next meeting where we're going to go there. But I think we have to file some new permit applications. I believe Grafton's on the similar schedule. Worcester's a little bit different. I think we have till we have till September 23 this year. So we may have to, I don't know if they're going to give us an extension or we have to reapply. I tried to get everything on the same schedule to make it just easier to manage because of the 3 communities, and that's not happening because everybody's got their own thing going on. weed mapping we already did, so we don't have to worry about that. And the pilot study for natural heritage. Not so much about the pilots. Well, I'm going to, Jacqueline Burmeister and I did meet with Natural Heritage, and it was disappointing it wasn't the answer we wanted to hear. They still want more data regarding the habitat and how the chemical Prosilico we're using affects the habitat. And so we're a little bit hogtied at Half Moon Cove and Old Faith. Old Faith we never treated in because we hadn't, I was hoping that it would actually go the other way. I was hoping that they were gonna let us continue with Half Moon and we could treat that this year with no further studying and all that stuff. And I didn't even mind sending a diver down there afterwards and figuring it out. That wouldn't be that bad, but I was hoping we could add on the control area, which is Old Faith, which is getting us overrun with milfoil especially. One of the challenges we're having in Half Moon, for example, is I believe that the dominant plant that people are seeing in Half Moon right now is a thing called the horned pondweed. So we did a fairly good job of knocking back the milfoil there in 2021, right? And this happened at Indian Lake too. When they knocked back the milfoil, the pondweed actually took over. So an indigenous plant took over from the invasive plant, but the indigenous plant was still a nuisance, right? And that's what's happening in Half Moon. So that's a whole different process. But the bottom line is the only chemical we're going to get to date that we know of now, the only approved chemical we're going to get to treat in that zone would be Prosilico, and Prosilico is really only effective with Eurasian milfoil. So we wipe out Eurasian milfoil and something else takes its place. That's going to be a separate issue that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to continue to appeal to natural heritage to allow us to make these waters more healthy. It's really a catch-22, and it's kind of and I mean catch-22 the movie, where it gets to be almost satire because it's the invasive or whatever's growing in a dominant manner will grow in exclusion of anything else, meaning that it will kill.
So what we're
The rare.
lacking is like an ecological balance between the plants.
I will say this, is the frustrating part, again, like the movie Catch-22, is when you go and approach Natural Heritage and tell them that, they go, yes, we understand that, we know. We're still not letting you do it. So, that's a paraphrase, but basically that's what it is. It's like, we know that's going to happen. Last time we talked to them, in fact, this last meeting, they brought it up. Yeah, we know it's going to, that this will kill it anyway, but, we want to make sure we don't. All right. So we're going to keep going back and forth. I need to confer with Jacqueline, so I was hoping she was going to be here. But we'll keep on it and hopefully get on there. I believe, though, that if it is the pondweed I'm thinking of, I don't think it's going to stay up very much longer. I think it may actually drop naturally because it's going to be through its summer bloom.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yeah.
let me just say, I want to underline and accentuate, it's very discouraging, the amount of weeds in terms of this last weed you mentioned that have come out of almost nowhere to choke Half Moon Cove. People are very upset with it. People have said to me, why am I paying extra taxes to live on the lake? I'm living on a swamp now. Things like that. I mean, if anybody knows any about natural heritage and can, get their attention, I mean, various people could do various things. They could decide they're going to treat them themselves, not tell me or you or anybody else, and harm the environment. We've got to have somebody like Natural Heritage as a linchpin in this, work in terms of cooperating to try to, in essence, save the lake. Again, these weeds are not even staying there. People are going in there with their boat, and they're coming out of Half Moon Cove, and they're spreading it around the rest of the lake. I mean, people want to swim. They want to fish. They want to kayak. They want to row. They want to sail. They want to cruise. All of that's in jeopardy. and we just can't see the lake disappear in terms of rapid eutrophication from choked weeds. So, I mean, I have to underline that, Mr. Chair. This is a serious problem that has to be addressed, and that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can I ask a question on that? I know we've been talking a lot about the weeds and their treatment. Usually when you have a rapid growth of aquatic plants like that, it's a change in their environment. There's some nutrient that has suddenly appeared in greater amounts or something. So has any testing been done on anything other than the weeds themselves to check whether or not there's suddenly some big uptick in the nutrients that foster the weed growth?
I had brought that up before, Mr. Bill.
So,
during my time.
to answer your question, that you're right. Was a changing environment, and the main change, at least that this is what the theory that I'm hearing, the main change is that the other plant is not a competitor anymore for the nutrients that were available in the water in the first place. So because that plant is gone, there are more nutrients available in the water of the water table for other plants to grow. That's what happened at Indian Lake, which is why the thin leaf pondweed, they don't have vasei over there, but they have a similar plant, a potamogeton. The horned pondweed is not a potamogeton, but it looks similar. It looks like that was my fear when I first saw it in Half Moon. I go, oh my God, this whole thing's vasei, but I don't think that's what it is. Interestingly, and this is again back to, and we're, just to answer everyone's question, is that like it may seem like nothing's going on, but just the fact that they allowed us to do the pilot in the first place, that they allowed us to go in there and experiment with a chemical that they didn't know for sure would not harm the rare plant that they were concerned with, was progress, and a lot of people kind of were surprised that they allowed us to do that in the first place without more lab studies and all this. And that's one of the issues that they go back to, and they say, well, it's not studied in the lab, this is out in the field. I don't know a better place to study this is out in the field, and we have a perfect isolated, both those bodies. Half Moon is totally isolated, so it can't get out into the other parts of the zone that they're concerned with. And the Old Faith site is almost the same, because the current's heading right into it, and so it heads east. And I don't think there's a whole threat that that's going to get out into the big lake. The chemical is going to get out to the big lake. But that all said, we are working as diligently as we can, and we're not sitting by and just letting Natural Heritage give us an answer and close the door like the Wizard of Oz, that no one's going to see the wizard. So we're going to keep going on it, but it takes time. And it's kind of an immovable force that they will tell you to answer those questions about people want to swim and people want to boat. It doesn't really matter to them. All they care about is the environment. All they care about, their mission under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, which is what they operate under, is to protect endangered species, whether that be a plant or some kind of other type of wildlife. So. That's what they go for. They have considerations of things, but that's their mission. So that's how they do it, and they have sway.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, there used to be, back in the day, through the DEP, programs for lake watershed assessments of non-point source pollution. And I wondered whether that program still has applicability at Lake Quinsigamond, and whether we could actually rekindle some of the science behind doing the non-point source assessments under the framework that they used to use.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try anything that we poured. This commission voted on spending money on the pilot in Half Moon, and it was a considerable amount of money. I think it was close to $30,000 we spent in there.
And how far back?
Before we treated.
How far back was that?
2020.
So I'm looking actually back
We-
a lot farther.
Yeah, no, I
than
understood, but we treated in there in 2021.
Right.
And we came back with the reports we need to come back with and everything. So, right now, they saw all the data. They saw what we did. They were impressed by it and encouraged. And, they kind of we're waiting for more stuff. So we're gonna keep going back and forth.
Mr. Chair, if I can just add, at this time, for the last month, maybe 5 weeks, I've watched at least 36 Canada geese sit in the Half Moon Cove daily, consuming these weeds, and obviously then excreting them out. So it's getting magnified and amplified. And every day there are at least 36 geese feasting on these weeds and again, relieving themselves. So they're just amplifying it. That needs to be known. I hadn't said that before. And I see it daily, every day. And it's not sporadic, it's every day. Ever since these horned pondweeds have been sprouting, there's been dozens of geese feeding on them. And they're excreting. And again, I already went over it before, Mr. Chair. The boats are coming in, boats are going out, and they're dragging the weeds out into the main part of the lake. Never mind the Half Moon Cove being almost innavigable. I've had people say they have to lift up their motors to take the weeds off because their boat wouldn't go any further. I mean, it's getting to that point. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Okay. The bids are out for the treatments that we can do in Zone A. So we're waiting for that to come back. And I don't have much to report on a Newton Ponds drawdown at this point. Jacqueline is not here. So, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up too, is that yesterday got a call. It was kind of a weird thing that it was a last minute thing, and they there's a company that's built a electric powered jet ski, and sometimes you can't make this stuff up. So they decided they're going to have a big announcement of this, and the manufacturer wanted to do this. The manufacturer was trying to raise funds. They got a prototype built. They had a to-do, and this is basically what it was described to me. I got a phone call at probably 9 o'clock yesterday and said, hey, there's this big to-do going on at Corzini. Can you come down here and represent the commission? So I did do that. They had, chairs set up. There was probably 25, 30 people down there. And they had a tent, and they had a jet ski, the prototype, and they had another gas-powered one to go get the electric jet ski if something went wrong. And I didn't actually see the jet ski operate, the electric jet ski operate, but I heard it zipped around like you would want one to. The irony wasn't lost on me that most of the people there promoting the jet ski, because it's built in Worcester, were the city council and the mayor who banned jet skis at Indian Lake. So, and they were touting how, this is a great thing and this is wonderful, and just don't put it on Indian Lake. So they didn't say the last part. I added that in there. So that was that. Also, I was a little concerned because they had gone through permitting process through Shrewsbury, but it wasn't completed, and it wasn't signed off by environmental police, and it wasn't signed off by the Shrewsbury chief. I don't think he had an opportunity to see it, and the prototype was not registered, so it probably didn't even have a serial number. And I don't know if that's a big issue, but I would have liked to known that beforehand. So if you're listening at home, next time you decide to do something like that, please have your paperwork filled out so everybody is covered by the paperwork. That was my concern, that if something went awry and someone got hurt out there, and in some regard, I was sorry I went. I didn't want to be standing there if something happened and go like, oh, well, the lake commissioner was right there. But that all said, this is germane because a couple of, at least the last meeting or the meeting before that, someone brought up a fact that they wanted some kind of mandate where we would have only electric boats on the lake. And, I think the electric technology is great. I'm a big believer of it. I just don't think it's ready yet commercially, and I'll say the same thing, is that even the batteries that they had in this jet ski, and this jet ski was pretty slick. It looked just like a jet ski if you saw it, and they just basically took a normal jet ski and they put this motor inside of it. But they're not using their own battery technology now. That's not developed yet. This thing had a 350 cc motor. It's supposed to do like 65 miles an hour. I think the fastest they got it up to was another funny thing. The fastest we could go was 40. Well, that works out good because that's a speed limit on Lake Quinsigamond. If they'd gone 65, they probably would have done that. But so there's that there. But so the bottom line is it's not ready yet, and that's still my position with this, is that when that technology becomes viably available to the consumer and affordable, then that's maybe something we can look at, easing into that. But it's a cool thing, and it was impressive to see what it is. And it's also impressive that it's a locally owned company. They're building it right here in Central Mass. The owner of the company is actually blind, so he's it's a person with a disability that owns a company. So it's all pretty cool stuff. All right, an update from the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. Did you bring a bag of water chestnut up here?
No, I think there's plenty of pictures online.
Okay.
So people would show up, and I'm Barbara Kickham, Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. A lot of people showed up on the 19th. We rescheduled from the 17th to the 19th, and they said they didn't know what water chestnut looked like. So I pulled out my phone and just showed them pictures. They're pretty obvious and it's not a treasure hunt. They're everywhere in certain areas of the lake, so you can find them pretty readily. And Bill was there, so it was great to, we had representation from the commission. We coordinated two ends of the lake. We had people on the north end doing Shirley Pond. It's also called Mud Pond on the north side of Main Street. And then we had another group of people down south of Stringer Dam. So we had a lower turnout. I think we had about a dozen people down there. Most of them were relatives of the Mulcahy's and the Sunset Beach. I'd say half of them, six were from there. A couple people just showed up at the very end, just half hour. So we had 7 people in the north end. And I think in total we got, between both areas, we got like 20 bags. But we're going to, and the town of Shrewsbury was very helpful in picking up the bags. So that was great, Kevin Esposito. And we are going to have another one July 8th. Hope the weather holds out. The weather's been very strange, so we'll see what we can do for that. So we had, from the Blackstone Valley Tourism Council, brought up a pontoon boat and a dozen kayaks. 4 of them were double kayaks and 8 were singles, and that's what we used at the north end. So right now I have 8 people who volunteered to be on the north end of the lake at Gauch Park. So I still have, another 8 slots available up there, and we don't have really anybody confirmed for the south end. And I think, the Sunset Beach area. People that tend to just show up there because they bring their own kayak, they don't tell us. We really would like people to tell us ahead of time, because the volunteers we have coming up from Rhode Island, we won't have them come if we don't have enough, or if we don't need 12 boats, they won't bring 12 boats. I felt bad that we didn't have a full contingent, but we didn't know. So we'll probably not use their pontoon boat the next time, but we'll take their kayaks. We had a volunteer who lives on the other side of Stringer Dam, and so he was able to work that area. And I think that with Mike Liberty's boat on the north side, we can get the Old Faith Road area. That was not touched at all. Reports are that the weed removal in Sunset Beach area, or on the other side south of Stringer Dam, was really good, and that we really made a dent from last year. But what we're seeing on our end, on the north end in Shirley Pond, is acres.
Yeah.
It's acres, as Bill said, it's well established, and that's why people
I believe that's where
all the way
probably all
down
started. Yeah.
are getting the black seeds pods coming up. So we'd really like a lot of help on the north end. Well, a lot of people come and volunteer. They're saying, well, this is way beyond volunteers. And I'm not sure. I was kind of feeling that way last year, but now hearing that we made a big dent in Sunset Beach, maybe we can make a dent. We can continue to make a dent up here. The limitations of mechanical harvesting is if you have milfoil and you'll spread it because it's just any fragments of milfoil. And I think we have that up there. So that's the problem with that. So we have funding from Rhode Island DEM and New EPIC, and they're continue to help us next year, and they're writing us into some more help in subsequent years. But we need a lot of labor, and it's a lot of hard work.
All right.
So July 8th from 8 to 11, and I'm sending an email, it'll be on Facebook, and I'll send it out on our listserv again, so.
Just between, you and me, how did Bill do?
He did very well.
Was he helpful?
Yes.
All right.
Quick question, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
This is just an academic question, and I was puzzled when I first showed up there, and I don't want you to take this negative. It's really an academic question. But when I got there, I expected to see water chestnuts, and which are a grass-like shrub that grows in 4 inches of water, has smooth culms. They're the things that they slice and put in Chinese food dishes. They're the Genesis electocharis, just to be precise. What we were pulling and everyone else was pulling were water caltrops, with Genesis trapper, which is actually a water nut. It's got 4 sharp points on it, and it is total aquatic species. It can grow in up to 16 feet of water. So my academic question is, why is everyone calling these water chestnuts?
I don't know. You're teaching me something. I don't know.
Right.
That's what.
I didn't know that either. I thought it was a different kind of water chestnut.
Yeah,
Not
that's
a
what I
water chestnut at all?
No,
Yeah.
water caltrop.
All right.
It's a
Trap.
nut.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. And at this time of year, we're not getting the sharp pods. They're just these
Right.
just baby.
They take the whole summer to
Like
form
stubble,
their
yeah.
hard points.
Yeah, they're nasty when they're out.
Yeah, so we're getting rid of everything we can take out. We're eliminating those pods.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. And also thank all the volunteers. We really appreciate that. And I want to also thank the Mulcahy's and Sunset Beach for allowing us to use their site to put bags on, because that saved a lot of time and effort to dragging them all down to the Shrewsbury PD boathouse, which we still did some of that, yes? Or did anything go down there this time? No? And the other drop was Gouch Park, right? So, thanks, Barbara, for getting that, coordinate all that. And I know it was crazy because we had to do a rain date thing, and which probably is the reason why we didn't have as many volunteers as we would have liked. So, hopefully the 8th will be good. Okay, review correspondence, which we don't have any correspondence. Yes,
You answered all the emails.
I did. Okay.
Or yes.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to remember which one that was meaningful here. I did get an email regarding Half Moon Cove, that one resident saw 2 other residents going around the circle in their pontoon boat to cut up the weeds. To Mr. Piker's point, that people are just going to take matters into their own hands. The problem with that, and we do know who you are, is that you're just kind of blowing your leaves into somebody else's yard here. So you get them off in front of your waterfront, and they're drifting over into somebody else's waterfront. So please don't do that. I know you wouldn't appreciate it if someone did it to you. If you're going to do that, and typically these things, if you get them on shore and dry them out, they dry and they're basically turn into nothing. So if you get them up on the beach and do that, they'll probably be the 10th the volume that they were when you first took them out of the water. And the other thing, there is still milfoil in Half Moon Cove, and this is probably the most important thing to remember here, is that what you did is you basically took it and spread it all around your waterfront. So whatever circles you made and wherever you took it, you basically you could have just taken a seed spreader out there and just gone around in front of your yard and spread the milfoil around. So be very careful when you're doing that. I am not sure, to tell you the truth, how the horned pondweed spreads, if it's a seed or if it's a fragment spread type plant. But until we find that out, I wouldn't be chopping it up, because it's just going to make things worse. And it'll happen this season too, so it's not like you're going to get rid of it for the season and come back. It'll actually regrow. So please be careful of that. And anyone around the lake, if you're going to do that, do it the right way and take it out of there and take care of it, please. I think that's it, except for the dock permits from correspondence. I want to follow up. Sorry, there's one more thing. I want to follow up on the dock situation at Maduka's Ice Cream and the Marine Corps League. We're still working with both parties to straighten this out. It is very tight over there, and there's a lot of traffic going in and out because there's people going into the ice cream stand to get ice cream, and there's people going into the Marine Corps. So there's a lot of movement in and out, and it is tight there. So if you are on the lake and you're going in and out of that area, on a Sunday afternoon, and it's windy and it's a lot of traffic, a nice day, and you're going in for an ice cream, it is wavy. It is, the boats move around. Please be considerate of other people's boats that are docked there. Those people pay money to dock there. The seasonal dockers. That's one thing. Plus, if you hit something with your boat, especially, and you damage it, which is what's happening, please, identify yourself and don't take off. We literally had someone take off in a pontoon boat after they hit somebody. They were on camera saying, "Swim out to me, come get me," and that's some punk stuff there, man. And you're on camera, so smile on that. I don't know what happened. Did they?
I don't know.
Not sure.
I didn't get a
Okay.
report from it. They must have reported to the.
I don't know. Yeah, someone told me they stopped them at Corazini. I think they were guests of the lake. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. So, if you happen to get away that time, it's likely not to happen again. So, but that's something we would ask you to do. And also a reminder, in any type of boating situation, that you are responsible for your wake. And you're responsible for the damage your wake causes. So it is the same exact rule that if you hit something physically with the hull of your boat or any part of your boat, that you're just as liable if you damage something with your wake as well. And I'm not encouraging anyone to look behind them when they're driving down the lake, but I would say that there is a wake behind your boat. And when you're going 14 miles an hour, it may look like you're going slow forward, but if you look behind you, that's probably the highest wake your boat's going to make. And I'm not encouraging you to speed down the thing at 50 miles an hour either, but I just want you to understand that your wake can cause damage, especially if your boat is equipped with ballast bags and it's made to form a big wake. So the wake boats, I would ask that they stay away from shore, stay away from other boats, and be cognizant of the fact that, those waves that you're creating with your boat are damaging the walls and the bankings and people's equipment. So just a reminder on that. On that happy note, what's the date of our next meeting?
When-
Wednesday, July 26th, 7 PM here,
Here?
this room.
In this room. Okay.
Make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we adjourn?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.